Let's understand the concept of actual cost in a case where a part of the cost has been met by the government through subsidy, etc. Now, what can happen is that many a time the government, in order to promote industrialization and therefore to create jobs and prosperity among the people, they can encourage setting up of certain types of businesses. Now, these kinds of businesses that are being set up may require substantial investment in plant and machinery or for setting up building, etc., which may not be feasible or which may not be viable to start with. So let us say the government wants to set up a plant in a remote district. The investment in the plant and machinery and everything else taken together, let's say, costs around 100,000. Now, the manufacturer or the person setting up the industry knows that in first year, he would not be able to make profits. So he's not willing to invest the money. What happens then is the government comes and it says, okay, you set up this plant and machinery. I will give you 50,000 so that your investment in this becomes 50,000, and this will be given to you by way of subsidy. So in this case, what happened is that even though the investment, let's say this is plant and machinery. So even though the investment in plant and machinery is 100,000, what the assessee paid was only 50,000. So the question comes up, what is the amount on which the depreciation is entitled to the assessee? This explanation basically deals with that case, where part of cost of an asset, so the cost of an asset was 100,000, out of which the part is 50,000, where part of cost of an asset has been met directly or indirectly. Well, the government can kind of pay 50,000 to the manufacturer, or it can pay it directly to the person who's selling the plant and machinery. So the cost has been met directly or indirectly by the central, state government, or any authority in the form of a subsidy or a grant. They can give a one-time grant to the manufacturer, or reimbursement. So you bought the plant and machinery and they said, okay, we'll reimburse this to you by whatever name called, but not waiver of a loan. Okay, I'll come back to this waiver of a loan thing. So much of the cost as is relatable to such subsidy or grant or reimbursement shall not be included in the actual cost of asset to the assessee. So here what will happen is that this 50,000 will be excluded from the actual cost. Okay? And once this is excluded, you get depreciation only on 50,000. So this is the amount on which you get depreciation. If subsidy is not related, then the following shall not be included in the actual cost. Let's take a second situation. Suppose I set up a factory which comprises of plant and machinery and other costs Now the government comes and says, I'll give you a subsidy of, let's say, 1,50,000, without actually saying as to what is this subsidy related to. If the subsidy is not directly related, so it's not directly given for the plant and machinery, but they said, I'll give you this subsidy for setting up this entire factory. So now how will you reduce this from here? Then the following shall not be included in the actual cost. So for plant and machinery, what will that be? Total subsidy or reimbursement or grant, which is 150,000 into value of the asset, 1 lakh. All the asset in respect of which the subsidy is given. Let's say this is 3 lakh. So this 40 goes, 1, 2, 3, 40 goes, 3 goes into this, 5, 50,000. Actually, it's 5,000. 5,010 in 50,000. So 50,000 will be excluded from the cost of this asset. So if it is not directly related, you apply this formula to see how much shall not be included in the actual cost. Now let me come back to one point which I said. By whatever name called but not waiver of loan. Suppose in the same example, I bought this plant and machinery for 1 lakh. Okay. The government gave me an interest-free loan of 50,000 to buy this plant and machinery. Now, after 2 years, because the factory didn't go well or for any other reason, the government waived this loan. Waived this loan means they said, okay, we are not going to ask you to repay this back to us. In that case, what happened? Effectively, insofar as the manufacturer is concerned, he is paid only 50,000 is the waiver, so 50,000. But that is not to be reduced from the actual cost of the asset for the purpose of this explanation. So, simple rule, whatever you pay for the total cost of the asset is what is entitlement for the depreciation. If you get a reimbursement for that, not included. If you pay less, I mean some part is paid directly by the government or the central government to the manufacturer, again that is excluded from the actual cost.